Hey guys, what's going on? This is Ed from vinylalbumcovers.com, and you know what it is. Welcome back to the front. And this is where it gets ugly. I'm sorry. In advance, I apologize to you, the viewer. You were about to see us act not very much like ourselves. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That's Dre. You're not going to say anything. Even in my misery, you won't say anything. And that's Ed Bowser from Soul and Stereo.
What's up, y'all?
Terrible about it. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now about to cover Just Whitney. The album was released in the state that it was, December the 10th, 2002.
The state that it was?
That bad, huh?
And it was produced by The World. And so
just say no to dope.
I need a minute to recover from that intro. So Ed,
Crack is whack is what it's called. Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Ed, but yeah, you've started wrong.
I remember the movie. I remember when in the Bobby Brown movie, when after the interview, Bobby turned to Whitney, he's like, "Crack is whack." He was like, "What is that?" He was.
She did it during the Barbara Walters interview.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah, because I guess apparently Bobby was blindsided by the whole interview. Like he didn't even know that was happening. So he pulled up to the house.
Oh, really?
Apparently, that's what the movie made it seem like. And then, after the interview was over, Bobby looked at Whitney and was like, "Crack is whack." He was like, "What is that?" Like, oh man, that scene cracks me up every single time. Gets me every single time, man.
She came off so badly in that interview. That went so sideways. Bless her heart. It was just like we were watching a career in free fall.
And she admitted on TV that she physically abused Bobby Brown. I'm like,
yeah.
She probably did. She probably did.
Heavily using. I'm not surprised. I don't think she did it in her right mind. But yeah, I have no trouble believing that at all. So music. So what's your aunt think of this one, Ed?
I was gonna say no more aunt stories.
Now there are no more aunt stories. This
she jumped off the wagon.
By 2002, they had pieced out on poor Whitney.
Bailed on poor Whitney.
No more Aunt Jackie stories with this one. I will say this though.
This is when we know we're in trouble, when there are no more aunt stories about a Whitney Houston record. We know where this is going.
We know where this is, but this is why I think we're going to get into it a little bit on this one. Because in 2002, when I heard this album, I hated it. I was like, what is this? Yeah. But when I went back to rank the albums, I don't know what year it was, a few years ago, I didn't hate it nearly as much. But obviously, this is way back on the list. If I'm ranking them, it's like next to last. We're going to get to last in a minute, but it's next to last. It's not great.
Next time.
But it's not as horrible as I remember it being. She still sounds pretty good. The biggest issue I have is this, and we've alluded to this earlier. We get like cartoon Whitney. We get over the top Whitney. We get goofy Whitney. I'm not here for it. I cannot stand that song. I cannot stand that song. Oh, it's Which like one? Everything that's exaggerated about Whitney, everything that's wrong with where she was in her life. I know the intentions were good. It's too much. I cannot stand it. But there are some good songs. One of Those Days I thought was a good song. There are a couple of good joints on this.
I agree with
but you. This needed a lot more focus. I don't know if Whitney had any focus by 2002, but it was not as bad as I remember it being.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different, like I said, 98 to 2002. Once again,
we got to get best and worst from him.
Oh,
and I want to hear what you have to say for sure. But we got.
I think I know. Yeah,
this is going to be ugly. So best, I think I know where this is going. But best from you, Ed.
Oh, for me? Oh, I already hit him. Best, One of Those Days. I think that's the best.
Agreed.
Because that one, and there was one other, and again,
don't take my other one. Don't take mine.
Forgive me, y'all. Like I'm looking at this tracklist. This is not an album I visit often, so I'm trying to remind myself as I'm looking at it. I think My Love was all right. One of those things is the only thing that still sticks with me. What you looking at by far is the worst. By far, ain't even close.
What was it? Say again.
What you looking at?
Oh yes, of course.
Get it out of here.
Yeah.
But I go with One of Those Days as the best. Cause I mean, it was a fun little upbeat 2002 era song. 2002. I had just got my first career job driving around Louisville, Kentucky. This is one of those songs you could blast when you think you're an adult, but you're still like 22 and don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
It works for her though, I think.
Yeah.
But
it's a fun, breezy little song. But no, we need some work.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, Dre, eat it.
So for my favorite, I actually like that tune. Babyface did this one. Love That Man. I actually think it's a solid track. You know what I'm talking about? You heard it? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm seeing it. I cannot remember it for the life of me.
I actually like that one. I like the one you just said. I can't even. You just said it. One of Those Days was decent. I mean, you can't go wrong when you sample the Isley Brothers. You know.
Right.
I did not like the remix though with Nelly. That just felt out of place to me.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, there was a remix. There was a remix with Nelly. I heard it one time on the radio back when that album first dropped, and I never heard it again. And I get why. It just didn't fit. Like Nelly's verse did like obviously didn't even record it. That they weren't even in the studio together when they did this. You know, they just kind of Nelly just kind of delivered some lazy lyrics here. You sent them off and then put them, kind of smacked them in the middle of the song.
Let Nelly and lazy lyrics, you say?
Yeah, well, yeah, I know, right?
Wow, the shade.
But yeah, Whitney Houston and Nelly it didn't work back then. Wouldn't work now. Wouldn't work in 2002. Ever. It doesn't matter.
In the parallel universe, no.
Yeah, it just didn't work. And we both agree on this. What you're looking at is horrible. That's paranoid Whitney. That's like Whitney trying to be like Madonna. Remember when Madonna did Human Nature? When she released the song Human Nature, but she was kind of clapping back at her critics. This felt like that's what Whitney was trying to do, but it didn't work.
Yeah, but Madonna did it well.
Right. And I feel like that was my issue with Whitney in this album and the next one. She just felt so, everything was like a reaction to everything. Like I didn't like that. Be comfortable in who you are. Like I feel like don't respond to everything. And
was this around the time she called up Wendy Williams and cussed her out? Was this around that time?
It was around that time. I can't remember. It was early 2000s.
Or the next one, but yeah, we were close to it. Yeah.
Okay.
She was definitely in her bag, so to speak, by this era. Because oh boy.
Yeah, she was. We had lost Whitney at this point. It was, kind of tough. Though I remember seeing her on stage. Mary J. Blige was doing a concert, and she called Whitney up, and Whitney just didn't look good at all. She was, lost a lot of weight. I guess apparently she had been having issues with cocaine and stuff like that going back to the early 90s, I think. I mean, that's what I've heard, but she was able to keep it together, I guess. I don't know. It just fell apart, I guess, eventually. I don't know.
Because this was around the time of the Jacksons thing, wasn't it? I believe. Yeah,
the Michael Jackson thing too. Yeah.
Yeah, when she got on stage and she was doing "Wanna Be Starting Something," I mean, my gosh, I mean, she looked dead.
Yeah.
And I don't say that, I don't say that with a chuckle. Like she looked like she was about to die. She looked so painfully thin. It just like, I remember thinking she doesn't have much time left.
Yeah.
The body can't live like that. And she looked like she'd break at any second. It was very sad to see. I got no joy out of that at all.
What even caused that? Like, okay, so I heard that she had always kind of dabbled in that kind of stuff, but then what made it just go off the rails? So like the way it did.
I mean, if you're doing whatever it is that she was doing, rather than eating. Or rather than, putting nutrients in your body, that's what happens. That's what you look like. I mean, the only other thing that looks like that is anorexia nervosa.
Yeah. And I remember Whitney used to tour a lot. Like she did a lot of touring back in the day. Like insane amount of touring. Like when you compare her to like like Mariah. Mariah didn't tour that much at her peak for whatever reason, which is weird. But Whitney,
she couldn't vocally handle it. That's why she didn't do it.
Oh, that makes sense. But like Whitney, she was doing like 4 or 5 legs a tour, man. Like she was doing it.
She really was. Yeah. She was out there on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It's amazing her voice held up as long as it did.
Right.
But it's interesting to note that touring didn't kill her voice. It was the other stuff that did.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, obviously, yeah.
Because you figure, I mean, by My Love Is Your Love, for as good as that record is, they're like in the, what is it? It just before the second chorus kicks in, you can hear where she's baby, but you found it out too late, where she's going way up there and she can't quite do it. And when she comes down, there's a whole lot of air. So there's vocal damage that she's working through to get back down the scale to get into the choruses. Yeah. So even by My Love Is Your Love, there's a fair amount of vocal damage in there just from, because you figure, I mean, with whatever it is that she was doing with drugs of any kind, drugs will dry out the vocal folds in your throat.
Oh yeah.
And not only that, but they won't be able to rehydrate. And if you don't have hydrated vocal cords and you try to sing through dry vocal cords, you will create cysts and damage and polyps. And that's what she did. And she never recovered from them. Yeah. And certainly by this point, I mean, by the time she recorded this record, her voice had taken on a very unattractive depth.
Yeah.
That just didn't. And I mean, you're supposed to get a certain amount of it as we age. It happens to all of us. But she really sped up that process. And the effects of it wouldn't be totally obvious until later. We'll deal with that. But here she still kind of halfway sounded like herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked. I agree with you about One of Those Days. I think that's a good song that I just period like.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not even good for Whitney. It's just good, period. Love That Man. I've got notes that I was taking when I was listening because I hadn't heard it in so long. But Love That Man, I said, I really like this. And I do.
Oh, so you agree with me? Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. No, I agree with you. You said it, and I was kind of just like surprised. It was more surprising.
Oh, I was like, he disagrees. So I was like, what?
No. I mean, with that song, you can't. I mean, I think it's an excellent song. It was written by committee, but it was written really well. It sounds like it comes from the pen of a single person, but it was written really, really well. My notes went like this. So it's like One of Those Days, nice tune. That was Shakespeare, of course, but there was no Candy. Candy appears on something else. They weren't involved at that point. She believed the lyric, and she sounds good on it. So I was full sail positive. Tell Me No, she sounds out of breath in the verses. I remember that she was trying to catch up with herself when she was singing in the verses, so it didn't. And she didn't really sound like she believed it. I couldn't decide if I liked it or not. It was very pop rock, not very R&B at all. Yeah. And obviously not quite my thing, but and I remember the melody was a little strange, but not necessarily in a bad way. It kind of worked, I think. I just couldn't quite figure out how I felt about it. My Love featured Bobby Brown. This is when his voice was starting to fail.
Yeah, unfortunately.
He still had that boyish tone in his voice, but his ability to reach notes was getting hampered. He was really pushing to get to notes that were at one point, when he was younger, that were just easier for him to get. I always felt like Bobby had a really good voice. I always loved his tone. Yeah. He had range. He had good intonation. But by this point, he just didn't have it. He was really fighting for notes.
Yeah. You can hear it on the Ja Rule track, too, that he did.
You can clearly hear it.
Well, but by then, it's over. It's over. Yeah. I know you're getting bored. Like, he's really pushing just to get anything resembling a tone. And the tune's triple tracked. Yeah. So all of his vocals that's not his voice is never alone. He's always triple tracked. I could do 3 tracks in there just trying to get some semblance of power. So it was over by then. It was completely over. But here it was still sort of there. It's like if you just put down the pipe, bro, like that it could have repaired itself.
Man, I still get Bobby Brown, man. That's
it's a crime against music.
Because I loved Bobby so much, man. Like his music. I had a Teddy Ruxpin and had to, Don't Be Cruel was 5 years old, man. Like that should have been a much longer career. Like he should have he should at least went to the 90s. At least the 90s.
I would love to have heard that voice age naturally, like just a little bit more like a 45-year-old depth. What would that have sounded like?
Yeah,
we'll never know. Like, just take a little bit of that youth off of it. Yeah, and then I think we have an all-time male R&B voice. I really do.
Yeah,
it was there. He just smoked it out of himself.
Yeah. If you follow Soul in Stereo, I have many, many thoughts on Mr. Brown. So I'm gonna save those for another conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He just completely killed his voice.
Yeah. Lost potential is the biggest thing I can say with this guy.
Like he was successful, but at the same time, it's like it was still kind of like what could have been, because it was like I still like he still had much more to offer than what he gave us.
And I feel like that because he's so beloved, that there's a lot of revisionist history where it's like, oh, he was dominating the 90s. Where? I lived through the 90s.
I mean, he had that run between like 88 and 92 where you can say he was the king of R&B that 4 years. But after that, though, it was kind of over.
After that, it was gone.
Yeah.
There's some weird kind of revisionist stuff that thinks that he was like doing the thing until 97. I'm like, oh, no, he wasn't.
Nah, yeah.
He was done by 92.
Couldn't.
Maybe 93 if I'm being generous.
Yeah. No, even 93 is fair. But beyond that,
Teddy Riley said if he wouldn't have married Whitney, he probably would have been more successful. I mean, I don't know how true that is, but I don't know.
We'll never know.
I don't know about that.
That's a bit too much of a leap. We don't know. Because, I mean,
Bobby had his own issues. He had his own demons.
This was a Jersey girl. I don't think I've never been of the thought or of the mind that Bobby tore down the princess. I don't think that at all.
No, not at all.
She was always that girl. You just didn't see it because Clive was hiding it from you. But she was always that girl. She did what she wanted. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine anybody telling Whitney what to do in that regard. No, she did what she wanted. The fact that they hooked up may have made it more potent. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, we'll never know the answer to that question. But I mean, I think Teddy's being a little hyperbolic there.
Yeah.
We'll never really know the answer to that. So
whatever
it is. It's just a shame that it happened.
Yeah.
I'm more thinking the two of them together was just a bad idea because it was a bad idea for both of them, not because you ruined, Whitney or anything like that. I mean, never thought that was the truth.
Like, it's like they say, man, hurt people, and they were both had their own demons coming into that.
Yeah, they both did. It's just they're both incredibly gifted, and it's just a shame that it went the way that it did. But but it's just I was listening in the car to this tune, to My Love, and it was so disconcerting and really scary, really, to hear it, because he was still in there. But then he would get to the edge of what was left of his range, and it would get really scratchy.
Yeah.
And it reminded me, oh wait, this is the drugged out Bobby. Like this is where it starts to go downhill, and it's very uncomfortable to listen to. And I won't listen to it again for that. Even though I do like the tune, this is where he's going off the cliff vocally.
He was only 32 at the time.
Yes, I know, he was so young.
Like, man.
It's just the most frustrating, the most disconcerting thing. What was it? Did I even try it on my own? I find completely boring. She was trying for an anthem, and it just didn't work.
Oh, it was Sleepy Time. I was
gonna name that one, but then what you're talking about was just so bad. I could not resist.
Yeah,
there are a couple snoozers up here. You light up my life. I didn't like that one either.
Thank you. That didn't. I was looking at that. That did nothing for me either. Yeah. I just remember it just says boring. That's what my note says. I was speaking these things into my phone while I was driving. I listened better in the car. I just said boring. I said nothing else. But it just, try it on my own was, you tried it and no. Sorry, Jason Edmonds. My apologies. You're much better than this. But You Light Up My Life whose idea was that? Like, the old Debbie Boone thing that was number 1 for 10 weeks back in the 70s because there was nothing good on the radio at that point. So they just went, heck with it. We'll just leave that up there for a few weeks.
Yeah.
It's a terrible song. But yeah, okay, so all right, this is hard for other reasons. So best thing on the record, One of Those Days, easy. Worst thing on the record, this is hard because there are two songs that I can't stand for two completely different reasons. I'm going Try It On My Own is the worst thing on the record just because it puts me to sleep. It's like, it's a song. It's a good song for a narcoleptic. Yeah, I'll go Try It On My Own for worst
I'm
thing.
not going to argue with you. It is
I know.
NyQuil level.
It just, and the thing is, like, all the right people are here. I mean, you've got Babyface writing it, probably writing music. Jason Edmonds, who's also an excellent writer, who's his nephew, who then showed up in After Seven for a while, can sing his face off, by the way. If you don't have the After Seven record he's on, something is the matter with you, because it's a fantastic album. That whole record is fire.
It's good.
It's the best After Seven record there is. That's as good as it gets for After Seven. My gosh. Carol Bear Sager, who's written all kinds of classics. Like, this is we were talking about this earlier. Like, this is where you meld the R&B, which is what the Edmonds boys are, with the pop. That's what Carol Bear Sager is. So this should have been incredible. And then you've got Elise Simmons and Nathan Walton, who are both pretty good writers too. This should have, why was this not like an amazing song? And what we end up with is Try It On My Own. We end up with this nothing. It just, I'm going to live my life the way I feel, no matter what. I'm going to keep it real. Great, happy for you. It just doesn't feel like anything. And the record did nothing. I mean, it peaked at 84 on the pop charts and 80 on the R&B charts. Nobody cared.
Yeah,
it's got to be this. It's just, you get with this collective of talent to come up with something this bad. It just. Yeah, it's pretty inexcusable for the individuals involved. It's Babyface's worst song. Easy.
Even then, but by 2002, Babyface wasn't that guy no more either. So it was just kind of.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree with you. But even at that, this is just bad. And like the other things that I didn't mention are just things that she was just too old for.
Yeah.
Or things that she sounded old on.
Yeah. She's pushing 40 at this point, so.
Yeah. She just couldn't get it done, and things got a whole lot worse on the next record. My gosh. But yeah, so the record sold 2.5 million copies worldwide. It sold 1 million here. Not a disaster, really, although they probably spent more money on it than they got back. But
yeah, definitely.
The record peaked at number 9 on the pop charts and number 2 on the R&B charts.
That's actually pretty good.
We are always more forgiving than the pop charts.
Always.
And she's Whitney. We love Whitney anyway. It's just, that's the way it is. So not embarrassing or anything like that in terms of chart action, but given the promo and everything that went in it, and I still remember it, they did make a big deal of it. So they probably still went into the red on it in spite of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm remembering right, that was the push, because it was, first Whitney album in a few years. She still was a name. Yeah. Had the What You Looking At or whatever the thing was. That got a little bit of attention. So,
but about that, so you brought up that song. So I'm a cheat. I knew the song hadn't done anything, but let's look at the carnage for what it is. So on the pop charts, What You Looking At stalls at number 75 on the R&B charts, and stalls at number 96 on the pop charts.
You know what I figured? Yes, that
apparently there was Thunderpuss got involved with it. He was all the rage at this point and did a dance mix that went to number 1.
That was it.
But yeah, exactly. It's just, and that was the first single. That's what you come out with to debut the record. So, I mean, they just completely shot themselves in the foot with that song. And then one of these days came out. What did that do? I got to see this. One of these days, oh, geez.
Couldn't have done much. I don't remember that as the single at all.
What, one of those days? Yeah, that was they made a video.
It was
they made a video,
but I don't remember.
Yeah. It peaked at number 29 on the R&B charts and number 72 on the pop.
I think Ronald Isley was actually in the video too.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he's in the video.
Yeah, I don't remember the video at all.
Yeah,
This song deserved better than that. You know what it is? It got swept up. Her issues were bigger than her music at that
Yeah,
point.
that was it.
That's exact. And Try It On My Own. And we went there already. Love That Man was also released as a single. What did that do? I'm curious. It didn't even chart.
Yeah.
That's what happened there. There was a dance mix that went to number 1, but it didn't chart otherwise. That's such a shame. So this is the Whitney album where the bottom begins to really fall out.
It fell out. It was done.
Well, it wasn't. It got worse.
It ain't done yet.
I'm sorry. I wish I could say that this was the bottom, but it's not. She was headed there. She could get there. I feel so bad about this. This is Whitney. Yeah. All right. We're gonna put an end to this one. I'm sorry, guys. We didn't want it to end like this, but it's going to get worse. So I'm going to let you sit with this one for a little while. Hopefully go back and listen to it and see what you think. And if we're wrong, tell us we're wrong. I'm fine with that. If you find something positive, maybe there's something we're not thinking of, tell us in the comment section. I'll respond to every comment. We'll respond to you, I promise. But we're going to go ahead and let this one go. I'm really not this negative a guy, but it's just sometimes it is what it is. So, yeah. So we're gonna let this one go. So for Dre and for Ed, I have also been Ed, and until we see you on the next one, keep listening to great music, huh?
Keep hope alive.
Keep hope alive. Yes. Bye, y'all.